Hi, everyone. Are you ready to hear an amazing story? Today, we're jumping right into a book called The Great Fuzz Frenzy. Let's go!
Okay, first things first, I've got a super silly question for you. Have you ever seen a prairie dog wearing a wig? No way, right? That would be so funny. And that is because our story today is a fantasy. And a fantasy is just a big, fun, made-up story where things happen that could never, ever happen in real life. You know, like animals that can talk and act just like people. So let's picture this. Deep, deep down under the ground, there's this little town full of prairie dogs. And it's pretty quiet. Usually, nothing exciting happens. But one day, everything changed.
It all started with this weird sound coming from way, way above their town. A little boink, boink.
What could that be?
And then, oh my gosh, the sound got so much louder. The whole ground started to shake with this huge rumble, rumble. I bet those prairie dogs were getting a little scared.
And then plunk! This thing dropped right into their town. It was round, it was green, and it was fuzzy. What in the world was it?
Now, all the prairie dogs were kind of scared to go near it. All of them, except for one brave little prairie dog named Pipsqueak. She went right up to it, poked it with her little paw, and she yelled out, "It's fuzzy!"
So Pipsqueak, she grabs a tiny piece of that green fuzz and pops it right on her head. And you know what happened? All of a sudden, everybody wanted some fuzz. They started putting it everywhere, on their ears, their noses, their tails, even their little bitty toes.
But then, pretty soon, all the fuzz was gone. The ball was totally bare. And that, my friends, is when the fun stopped and the big, big trouble started. So the town, it just split right in two. On one side, you had the fuzzes. These were the prairie dogs that got a whole bunch of fuzz, and they did not want to share. And on the other side, you had the fuzz-nots. They got zero fuzz, and boy, were they mad about it. And this is where a really big, important idea comes into our story. Greed. Greed is when you want everything for yourself and you just don't care if anybody else gets anything. And because of all this greed, that once peaceful little town, it turned into a giant fight.
You know what's really cool? The person who wrote this story used all these super fun words that start with the fuzz sound, like fuzz frenzy, fuzz fiesta, and fuzz fight. It makes the story sound so silly and exciting when you read it out loud, doesn't it?
So, while everyone was super tired from all that fighting, the meanest prairie dog in the whole town, Big Bark, he snuck around and he stole all of the fuzz for himself. Can you believe that? He climbs up on a hill. He's covered from his head to his toes in all that green fuzz, and he shouts, "I'm king of the fuzz!" But oh no, all that bright green fuzz was actually a really bad idea. It made him super easy for a giant eagle to see from way up in the sky. And then, swoop! The eagle just snatched Big Bark right off that hill. Now, some of the prairie dogs actually cheered because, Big Bark was a bully. But Pipsqueak knew they had to do something. Pipsqueak reminded everyone that, yeah, Big Bark was mean, but he was still one of them. He was part of their town. She yelled, "He's one of us! We have to save him!" And this part is just awesome. They all worked together as a team. First, they shouted up at Big Bark to wiggle and shake himself free. Then, they all got into a big circle on the ground. And finally, as he fell, they all held out their paws and caught him. Wow! What amazing teamwork! After that big rescue, everyone was finally safe. And they looked up and saw all that fuzz just flying away with the eagle, and they realized it wasn't important at all. Pipsqueak said what everyone was thinking. We don't need fuzz! And that is the big lesson of this whole story. The prairie dogs learned that taking care of each other and being safe was so much more important than some silly green stuff. Friends are way better than fuzz. So it makes you think, right? What's more important than stuff? This whole fuzzy story is just a great reminder that our friends, our family, and helping each other, well, that's the stuff that really truly matters the most.